Welcome back to the study, my morbidly curious friends. I'm Vincent, and tonight we aren't just talking about monsters, we're talking about paranoia. In 1951, a terrifying piece of cinematic history taught an entire generation of post-war Americans to lock their doors and watch the skies.
The Thing from Another World.
But in 1982, a much gooier, much bleaker remake taught us that the real monster might be the person sitting right next to you.
Anyone messes with me and the whole camp goes.
John Carpenter's The Thing.
We're talking about tentacles. We're talking about chest-chomping cadavers. We're talking about the undisputed king of the 1980s practical effects.
Oh, indeed, Jodie. Tonight, we throw two icy leviathans into the petri dish to settle the ultimate sci-fi horror debate. To understand this debate, we have to go back to the source. Both of these films are adaptations of the brilliant 1938 novella Who Goes There by John W. Campbell. It's a brilliant claustrophobic tale about an Antarctic research team that uncovers an alien craft buried in the ice along with its frozen pilot. A pilot that can perfectly imitate any living creature it consumes.
Yeah, except the 1950s version completely ignored that part. Instead of horrifying, flesh-ripping shapeshifter, the 1951 movie gave us an advanced form of plant life. He was a giant, angry, blood-drinking vegetable.
He was played by a young James Arness, Jodie, long before he became a television legend on Gunsmoke. He was stomping around the soundstage in a Frankenstein-esque makeup.
He was a walking salad, Vinny. How are we supposed to be scared of an oversized carrot or piece of broccoli?
Because, my dear Jodie, the true horror of the 1951 film was never about the monster itself. It was about the era it was born into. You have to put yourself in the mindset of a 1951 theatergoer. World War II had just ended. The Cold War was freezing over. The fear of atomic annihilation and foreign infiltration was at an all-time high. When The Thing from Another World hit screens, it wasn't just a monster movie, it was a warning. And it was executed brilliantly. While Christian Nyby is officially credited as the director, Hollywood legend states that the film's legendary producer Howard Hawks basically ghost-directed the entire production.
And let's get the record straight. The movie was directed by Howard Hawks. Verifiably directed by Howard Hawks. He let his editor, Christian Nyby, take credit. But the kind of feeling between the male characters, the camaraderie, the group of men that has to fight off the evil, it's all pure Hawksian.
Which explains why everyone in the movie talks at 100 miles an hour.
Dr. Carrington, we just learned you found a dog in there, bled white by a visitor. You didn't report it. Why?
I didn't consider it necessary.
But it was necessary to let two of your friends in there to be killed.
I posted them as a guard. I was in there
Dr.
myself
Stern
for
was
5
right.
hours.
I just looked through that door. They're hanging in there upside down like in a slaughterhouse. I wish you'd seen it.
Isn't there something we can do about it?
They're dead, and our job is to see nobody else joins them.
Exactly, Jodie. Hawks was famous for his rapid-fire overlapping dialogue.
Give me the desk. Give me that phone. What a break. Stand back, everybody.
He might shoot.
Get your guns out.
He's harmless.
Don't take any chances. Shoot right through the desk.
Can't hurt anybody. You've got his gun. Oh, dear.
It made the scientists and military men feel incredibly real, competent, and grounded. When these smart, tough men started to panic, the audience panicked with them. They captured a sense of isolation and impending doom that relied entirely on atmosphere, shadows, and the terrifying realization that humanity is not alone and we are not safe. It's a masterpiece of tension. In fact, a young boy named John Carpenter saw it in theaters and loved it so much, he actually put it playing on a television screen in the background of his own classic, Halloween. That's what little Tommy's watching.
Okay, respect to the classics. The atmosphere is great, the dialogue is snappy, but Uncle Vincent, atmosphere doesn't bite a man's hands off. It's time to go to 1982. Okay, Vinny, but we have to talk about the man in the suit. James Arness hated playing this monster.
It is true, Jodie. Arness was so embarrassed by the giant vegetable costume that he supposedly didn't even attend the film's premiere. He thought it was going to ruin his career.
And it almost killed the stuntmen. Back in the 50s, they didn't have CGI or fancy fire retardant gel.
And there, and the door opens, and there it is, and they set it on fire, and it runs through. It was amazing. When I was a kid and I saw the thing, it was transforming.
For the scene where they light the monster on fire, they used real fire. Stuntman Tom Steele was covered in a real flammable liquid, and he had to hold his breath the entire time so he wouldn't scorch his own lungs.
Ooh, a horrifying OSHA violation by today's standard, but a spectacular cinematic achievement for the era. However, John Carpenter was about to take that practical magic to a level of absolute madness. "31 years later, John Carpenter returned to the original novella. He stripped away the Cold War metaphor and replaced it with pure, suffocating biological paranoia.
And he brought in a 22-year-old kid named Rob Bottin to create the monsters. Uncle Vincent, Bottin didn't just work on this movie, he went to war for it.
Rob Bottin, 23-year-old special effects wizard.
I would just say a joke out of black humor like, the guy's stomach rips open and turns into a big mouth, and he bites this guy's arms off. And John would start laughing and he'd go, that's not a bad idea.
Makeup special effects artists are a new breed. Besides designing what things will look like, they employ mechanical devices which transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. To make the thing believable, Bottin needed appropriate stand-ins for real actors.
You go ahead and make a puppet that looks exactly like the person, and then putting mechanical effects inside to go ahead and move, the puppet. We'll use hydraulics, we'll use pneumatics. We even ran one of the puppets off of a computer.
To create these unspeakable, shape-shifting nightmares, Bottin lived on the Universal lot for over a year. He worked 7 days a week, sleeping on sets, eating junk food out of vending machines. He was literally hospitalized for double pneumonia, a bleeding ulcer, and total exhaustion. He almost died making this movie.
His dedication was unmatched, but because he was in the hospital, they actually had to bring in a secret weapon to finish one of the film's most iconic scenes. The dog thing. Carpenter quietly brought in Stan Winston, the man who would later create the Terminator and the Jurassic Park T-Rex, to design the dog thing. Winston refused to be credited because he didn't want to steal Bottin's thunder, but Rob Bottin insisted on giving him a special thank you in the credits.
And to make it look wet and disgusting, they didn't have digital gloss back then. They used hundreds of gallons of melted Jell-O, mayonnaise, and KY jelly. The set smelled absolutely rancid, I'm sure.
to the misery. Carpenter wanted the cold to feel authentic, so in the middle of a sweltering Los Angeles summer, he refrigerated the sound stages down to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The actors were legitimately freezing.
Which leads us to the greatest practical effect in horror history, the chest defibrillator scene.
Clear!
Clear.
When that chest opens up and bites off the doctor's arms, how did they do it without CG? Bottin found a real-life double amputee, fitted him with prosthetic arms and filled it with fake blood and wax and bone, and put a hyper-realistic latex mask of the actor's face over the amputee's head. When the chest snapped shut, it just crushed the fake wax arms. Pure analog genius.
It is a masterpiece of tension, culminating infamous blood test scenes. No monsters, no gore, just tied to couches. Blood would react to the hot wire.
Lines at the Loma Theater parking lot are a common sight these days, from morning till night all week long. But a few other sights are becoming equally familiar. These entrepreneurs know that it takes a blockbuster movie to keep their newfound businesses in the black. They're only hoping that E.T. continues to charm Earthlings the way he has so far, at least through the end of summer.
Yet, for all this groundbreaking work, the thing was an absolute box office disaster when it was released in the summer of 1982.
How is that even possible?
Timing, Jodie. It was released just 2 weeks after Steven Spielberg's E.T. America was in an economic recession. Audiences wanted a friendly, cuddly alien who healed with a glowing finger. They didn't want a nihilistic, flesh-ripping parasite that ends with our heroes freezing to death in the dark. Even the brilliant, pulsing synth score was nominated for a Razzie Award for Worst Musical Score. Oh, a true cinematic crime.
So, debate time. The 1951 classic that built the foundation of sci-fi paranoia? Or the 1982 gore fest that pushed human artistry to the absolute breaking point?
Both are undisputed masterpieces, but for my money, there's nothing quite as terrifying as looking at your best friend and wondering, are they still human? Which version of the thing actually makes you want to sleep with the lights on? Cast your vote in the comments below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button before the ice freezes over. Pleasant nightmares!